Anime Versus Episode 1 Goblin Slayer vs. Hajime Nagumo. Hello everyone, this is Mix, your favorite fantasy isekai YouTuber, and I am so thrilled to announce this new series, Anime Versus, where we pit two anime characters against each other and compare them in order to find out who is the best in their respective categories. For instance, if the chosen topic is who is the best anime detective, we may choose L and Detective Conan. This is not another death battle type of show. If the characters can fight, we will take that into account, but their fighting capabilities will not be the focus of the show. Today's category: Greatest Anime Adventurer. Today's combatants are Goblin Slayer from the anime of the same name versus Hajime Nagumo from Arifureta, from Commonplace to World's Most Powerful. The video is organized in 3 sections. 1. Presenting the adventurers and why we chose them. Section 2. The anime versus. And Section 3. The verdict. Let's begin. Anime versus. Section 1. The combatants. The reason we chose these particular anime characters are the following. They're both adventurers with a tragic backstory, they complete tasks in a fantasy world, and most importantly, this particular fantasy world is a game board for the gods. Yes, in both cases, everything we see the characters go through is in fact set up by unseen player gods for their amusement. Combatant number 1. Goblin Slayer is a human male in his early 20s. Adventurer rank, Silver. Goblin Slayer is always wearing his iconic metal armor, and his ultimate goal is the annihilation of the goblin race. Goblins in the past destroyed his village, setting him in this path of revenge. His most iconic weapons are his trusted iron shield and his short sword, a gladius. Other weapons he has occasionally used are his magical breathing ring and his curved dagger. Don't let this small arsenal deceive you though, since much like a medieval Batman, he always comes prepared, having filled his backpack and pockets with stamina potions, explosive powder, and many other surprises. Throughout his journeys, he has defeated a necromancer, a dark elf empowered by the gods of chaos, an ogre, and hundreds upon hundreds of goblins. His silver rank is one of the highest adventuring ranks, proving his prowess. Combatant number 2. Hajime Nagumo was a 17-year-old human male who, along 4 other high school students, was transported in another world. Yes, he is an isekai protagonist. In this other world, called Tortoise, Hajime and his classmates were considered warriors sent by the gods apostles. They were supposed to become adventurers, train and defeat the forces of darkness while also clearing the most dangerous dungeons of the world. Unlike his fellow classmates, Hajime got a seemingly worthless class, that of Synergist. Unlike the hero or priest class, he could only use one ability, that of transmutation. She could appraise materials and change minerals into new shapes, creating weapons for the other classes. After a disastrous raid in a dungeon, Hajime was betrayed by one member of his party and fell through a crack at the bottom of the dungeon into the abyss. This event is called the Fall, and it forever transformed Hajime. Left on his own, the young adventurer started to explore the demon-infested abyss, until he was attacked, lost his left arm, and was forced to eat one of the demonic beasts in order to survive. By consuming the monster, his body was destroyed and reformed as a human-demon hybrid, turning his hair white and his veins red. Living in the abyss, Hajime had to fight every moment of his life, getting levels at a quick pace as a result, and acquiring new abilities by eating the body of the beasts he had killed. His goal: to escape the dungeon and then escape this fantasy world, returning to reality. His abilities increase as the story progresses, and his weapons of choice are his 2 guns. Now, these are the categories that our combatants will battle in: efficiency, team spirit, preparation, who would win in a fight, and finally, motive. Anime versus begin. Category number 1, efficiency. A great adventurer needs to be efficient. He needs to deliver. You should be able to count on his abilities and skills so that you can sleep peacefully at night. Hajime has completed some of the most difficult tasks the fantasy world of Tortoise has to offer. He vanquished the Hydra and cleared one of the 7 legendary dungeons of this world. However, Hajime doesn't play by the rules and couldn't care less about Tortoise and its inhabitants. He's not selfish or anything or heartless, but his main objective is to complete the dungeons and find the portal that will send him home. If your quest happens to help him reach that goal, or your situation is unbelievably dire, then yes, he will take care of the threat for you. If not, you won't get much help from him. He's more of a traditional mercenary than an adventurer. On the other hand, this is where Goblin Slayer shines. He's fighting the weakest monster in his universe and never refuses to help anyone in need, no matter the pay. As long as the quest involves goblins, that is. When we first meet him, he has been killing goblins and completing quests for at least 5 years. If I was in a dire situation and I had to pick one of the two, I would definitely pick Goblin Slayer. He's just more reliable and more easygoing. So, point goes to Goblin Slayer. Team player. An adventurer needs to work well with others. Almost all adventurers eventually join a group. Sure, Goblin Slayer was the exception to that rule, but that was only because goblins are the least powerful monsters in his world. If you want to defeat bigger threats and accomplish legendary tasks, you need someone to have your back. So, an adventurer needs to work well with others in order to tackle bigger threats. He needs to have communication skills, know how to organize his allies, and form bonds with other warriors. Both of our combatants have an adventuring party, but the way that they function within it is very different. Goblin Slayer's party was initially formed for one specific quest. It was supposedly a one-time thing. Why didn't they break off? They kinda liked each other, and one quest led to another, and now they're pretty much inseparable. Goblin Slayer is the fish out of water in this group. He was not the group adventuring type for a long time. He's lacking communication skills, is pretty robotic when talking to the others, and at times doesn't even speak at all. On the contrary, Hajime is pretty close with his group. Some people say too close. He heavily relies on them to reach his goal, and without them, he would have been dead dozens of times over. Yes, he is rude, bossy, and at times even a bit abusive with Yua and Shia, but with his guidance, they can even take down gods. He builds powerful weapons for them and even gives them a pep talk from time to time. The difference is that Hajime takes the role of the leader in his group, giving orders, devising plans, and deciding their next adventure. Goblin Slayer is more passive and at times gives the impression that he doesn't really need his allies. The thing is, with this group, he has achieved wonders and yet he has never openly acknowledged that. Hey guys, you're valuable allies. It's that simple. I have to give that point to Hajime. Yes, he is an edgelord, but that is better than being antisocial. There is a reason Goblin Slayer was working on his own for all these years. Preparation. A good adventurer needs to be prepared and ready to face every threat. Deciding which among these two is the better prepared was difficult. They both use different tools, magical trinkets, and strategies in every other adventure. A good example was when Goblin Slayer brought the canary in the sewers of the Water City to check for poison gases, or when Hajime created a railgun in case he met a larger threat, both of which came in handy in future adventures. However, in the case of Hajime, all he does is create bigger guns. What is that thing? Apparently, in his world, there is no problem that cannot be solved with a bigger blast to the face. Plus, he has transmutation magic. All he needs to do is to think really hard, and with the right materials and some time, he can conjure up literally anything. That is not being prepared, that is being broken. Point goes to Goblin Slayer since he has to operate with non-magic powers and has several limitations to what he can get his hands on and what he can carry. Who would win in a fight? Unlike Goblin Slayer, Hajime has gone through various phases before becoming the God Slayer that he is. There is pre-fall, when he's still with his group, post-fall, post-meeting Yue, and post-completing each great labyrinth. I will be clear, any phase beyond the point Hajime meets Yue is overkill. He has countless abilities, limitless mana, and a 3,000-year-old vampire always with him. So, I have decided in order for this to be a fair fight, that I'm going to use the post-fall and pre-meeting Yue Hajime. Okay, so imagine this. The setting, a dark cave. Goblin Slayer appears holding a torch and stares at Hajime. He notices his pale hair and the red veins covering all of his body and mistakes him for a ghoul or a vampire. Hajime is startled and immediately pulls out Donor, firing one round. Donor is Hajime's favorite gun. Now, these rounds are super explosive and made from the hardest material. But if Goblin Slayer somehow dodges it, or deflects it with his shield, he could survive that initial attack. And so what? I hear you say. Goblin Slayer doesn't even know what a gun is. Yes, that's true, he doesn't know how a gun operates. However, he could mistake it for a wand, or even if he's clueless about the way that it works, he knows that it fires a projectile, much like the spells and arrows of his universe. He can also see that his opponent is one-armed, so he could use that to maneuver around him at angles that his arm cannot bend. Goblin Slayer is a master strategist and very perceptive about his opponent's movement and abilities, as he has proved in his fight against the Ogre and the Dark Elf. He could count the shots until Donor needs to reload, and use that as an advantage the second or third time that it empties. Plus, Hajime needs to replenish his mana and stamina by drinking the Ambrosia vials, which he cannot do if he's holding the gun. He needs to place it on his back and then use his only arm to pop that vial open. Goblin Slayer could use his trademark move and throw his sword at Hajime's only arm or his face, instantly killing him. Who am I kidding? Out of all the scenarios that I came up with, Goblin Slayer won in those that everything went his way. He wasn't instantly shot by Hajime, he wasn't turned into dust by his grenades, or sliced by his magical claws. Even at this phase, Hajime has so many abilities. Night vision, he can see in the dark cave. Electrical field, covering himself with an electrical current. Gale claw, sense presence, poison resistance, far sight. Goblin Slayer may win 1 out of 10 times, but 9 out of 10 times Hajime wins. The winner is clear. Point goes to Hajime. Who has the strongest motive? If you've seen even one Goblin Slayer episode, you know his motive is to eradicate all goblins. And the reason for that is revenge and protecting the innocent. Revenge is understandable, and thematically it clashes with his rehabilitation into society. How is he supposed to become a socially active person if his only thought is how to rip the goblins apart? And protecting the innocent goes back to his Batman influences. He just wants to make sure no one suffers his own fate. Watch my video on Goblin Slayer's tragedy for more on this. Now, what about Hajime's motive? He wants to escape this rotten isekai world and return to reality. He learns that all the wars fought on the land of Tortoise are actually games played on a game board by unseen player gods. When the 5 high school students were sucked into this world, they were unwillingly turned into pawns in this elaborate game of chess. The gods wanted to spice things up by bringing people from another universe into this reality. Well, Hajime is having none of that. He's going to kill anyone that stands in his way. He's going to conquer the 7 great labyrinths and get back home. If you try to stop him, you die. Essentially, he wants to break the game. He wants to be the pawn that escaped. Unlike Goblin Slayer, who, granted, is rolling his own dice, deciding his own fate, but is still playing the game, Hajime wants to throw the dice at the god's face. He wants out of this isekai world. Arifureta is subverting the isekai genre by having a protagonist who couldn't care less about this artificial reality. Goblin Slayer's motive is great, but it's not something groundbreaking. And revenge is a common motive in many narratives nowadays. Okay, I guess I have to announce the winner now. Drum roll, please. Oh, we don't have a budget for that? Anyway. Hajime Nagumo from Arifureta winning 3-2 against Goblin Slayer. And you know what? Goblin Slayer couldn't care less. He doesn't desire titles or recognition for his work. He's going to do it anyway. And that is why I adore him. If you thought that I was on Hajime's side, you're wrong. Check out how many videos I've made for Goblin Slayer. I love Goblin Slayer. I've spent hundreds of hours reading, researching, and analyzing Goblin Slayer's lore. Hajime's story is about escaping an isekai world, overcoming adversity, killing gods, and looking cool while doing it. Goblin Slayer's story is more personal, down to earth, and simple. And that is what makes Goblin Slayer stand above all other adventurers. The heroine, Sword Maiden, and even Hajime, really. He kills goblins because someone has to do it. He's humble, honest, and kind. He may not be the hero. He may not have won this anime versus episode, but he has won our hearts. So he's a winner too in a way. Hey guys, what did you think of the first anime versus episode? Would you like to see more? Comment below and let me know if you want me to make more anime versus episodes and who should be the next combatants. As always, don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button on the next episode of Anime Versus. If it's ever made, I don't know. It will depend on how well this episode goes. Until next time, fellow otaku adventurers.